Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Abeneeka Bangura. She is a self-published author of two books and an entrepreneur. She's growing her beauty business while building a career as a speaker and advocate. Is deeply committed to promoting women's empowerment, self-care, self-love, and aims to inspire and uplift others along her journey. Welcome to the show, Abeneeka.
Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form, Abeneeka. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll learn from you about how you are balancing family demands with entrepreneurial ambitions along with all of this. But before this, let's understand a bit about your story, your background, your journey, so that people know who they are listening to.
Okay, so I'm a mother of two girls, one that's 4 years old, one that's 9. And my 9-year-old is currently autistic. So since COVID, which was, a very hard time for all of us, I found my passion to become an entrepreneur. And in that time, I started my entrepreneurial journey where I started making strip lashes from scratch. And I also had the passion for writing, and I also had a passion for cosmetic of doing teeth whitening. So balancing it has been obviously hard, having a child that's Sen at the same time, but I've always managed to balance it and try to work around the times where, school times, I would focus on my passion for writing, and then obviously home time, I'll focus on my passion for doing strip lashes. So I do have 2 books on Amazon right now. I've got a poetry book, which is Uplift and Empower. So that is empowering Black women, just because of obviously the stereotype that we face in society today. And it's just to obviously give them that confidence that certain things are okay in this time and era. And on top of that, I've also got a self-love book that is to empower us women. So to give them that encouragement of putting our needs first, prioritizing our needs first, and also prioritizing our mental health at the same time. Because away from being a mum, sometimes we disregard that we need to put our health and our well-being first. So it was just a book to give that inspiration, just a reminder. So as on top of that, I've also become a teeth whitener. So I whiten teeth as well, which is obviously in the cosmetic field. And I actually really enjoy doing that alongside. So in general, from COVID, it was just a new start, a new journey that I've had to learn myself. And I've managed to now be in a position where I'm starting to advocate, become a speaker, and to give skills to other people that want to start their entrepreneurial journey, because it wasn't as easy for me. I obviously didn't learn certain skills that I knew now, and by learning, I've now come to a stage where I'm at the level of being an author now and a cosmetic beautician.
Absolutely, Abeneeka. So I want to understand, what was the inspiration to become an entrepreneur? Many people just want to do a job or something. Any particular reason and inspiration, motivation that made you look towards entrepreneurship?
Yes, so during COVID time, I did lose my job. So it was a very upsetting time. And at the same time, we had lockdown. So there, no jobs, no shops, and nothing was running at the time. So in that time, obviously, because I'm a proactive person, I do generally like to work, and I do generally like to get things done. I sat down, I was thinking, what could I possibly do in this time that can actually benefit the time instead of staying indoors? And that's when I realized that my real passion has always been to read, to write. So that's always been a passion from when I was young. And in that time, I started to write poetries. I started to write little blogs, and I put it out there. It was just a little blog page that I used to do. And from the blogging, it then turned into writing, and then it turned into beauty, because I wasn't able to go to the beauty shop to get my eyebrows done, usually my lashes done. So these were just skills that I started to gain throughout the period of lockdown. And then from there, I just, after practicing, it just became a job. And it was good as well, because I've got two daughters, obviously one that's under the 10 and obviously my youngest. It was just good as a mum to be able to work around the timing. So when they did go back to school, I was able to then find it as a job, and that's where the inspiration came from. And then with advocating for women, I have a lot of friends that I've always given advice to, and I started to get into self-love. And I started to do coaching, and then the coaching led to becoming an empowerment, and then it made me become a speaker, so then I can inspire other women. And that's where the inspiration came from.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, how do you manage both the this whole roles of motherhood as well as entrepreneurship, and then you're also trying to build a career as a speaker and advocate?
Well, my kids are very good because they've seen me work throughout the time. So when they see me do my little content, they're like, "Mummy's working," and they actually come and they enjoy and they help. So they became part of the job. So it became a routine in our household where there will be time when it's not school time, there'll be times in the morning that I would set up. I would work through that period, even if it's writing or even if it's speaking, and they will be part of it. And they always used to see the end result. So once they saw the end result, it just became a routine. And then after, like I said, after lockdown, it just became a job. It was something that we all enjoyed. So the fact that my children were involved, it just made becoming an entrepreneur a lot more easier, because they actually understood. So just even with my writing, I would get the confirmation from my children first. I would read it to them, they would listen, and then they would give me back the feedback. So it's about, involving them as well, which made motherhood and obviously building a career a lot more balancing than it would have been usually.
Absolutely, absolutely, Abeneeka. So, in terms of your journey, where are you in that journey of yours? Want to be a full-fledged entrepreneur, speaker, and advocate? Where are you in your journey? What are the challenges that you are facing? Challenges, triumphs.
Yeah.
Share a bit about that journey.
Okay, so I would say challenging wise, it will take me a lot more longer to exceed more in writing, because, someone else, it could take maybe a day or two, where with me, it will take maybe a week to progress through that. But for me, it's more about taking the steps. So it's like having a checklist and writing the checklist down, and then it's just ticking it off, ticking it off, ticking it off. At first, when I first started my entrepreneurial journey, I was getting myself in too deep. I was a bit more overwhelmed trying to do so many things at such a short amount of time. And I realized that I needed to give it a break and actually focus on each step. So if I was doing writing, there would be a checklist that I would do. And then once I've finished that checklist, then I'll move on to the next stage. So for me right now, it's more about building. So I'm at the stage where I'm obviously a self-published author. Obviously, both of my books are on Amazon, and obviously I'm a beautician, sorry. And right now, it's more about the progress. So right now, it's for me is the checklist. So once I get past my checklist, then I'll be able to move forward. So I'm currently now starting up my own podcast, which is the beginner stage of my speaker journey. And now currently it's a bit hard. I won't lie. Lots of mums will say, "Wow, how do you do it?" It is hard, but it's about being patient, it's about being consistent. And I think for me, it's just more about taking your time. It's not a race, it's not a marathon. take your time. And once you feel comfortable to get to the next stage, then you can move on to the next stage.
Absolutely, absolutely. One should be kind to oneself and give yourself as much time. Even in podcasting, it is not an easy thing. One
Yeah.
has to be,
Yeah. No,
so
it
much of
is.
patience and all. Absolutely, absolutely. So I want to understand your motivation. What keeps you motivated in doing several things at the same time?
I would say my mum especially, she is my motivator. When there's days where I'm saying to mom, I'm so overwhelmed, my mum says, listen, you know your journey, you know what you're capable of, continue. And it's that motivation. Everybody knows when it comes to your mum is your biggest supporter, your mum is your biggest motivator. And you know, your mum has always got your best interest at heart. And I think anytime I feel like I'm ever overwhelmed, my mum will be the first person that I will call. And my mum will always be the first person that I will run any of my ideas, because sometimes I might miss certain things. And my mum's got an attention to details where she would add her little input, her little idea, and say, oh no, maybe you can do this, or maybe. So it just simplifies. So I would say my mum is my biggest motivator, my biggest supporter. And with that support on your side, it just makes things a lot more easier. And my children as well at the same time. But definitely my mum, she's been there throughout my whole entire journey, which is a blessing.
Absolutely. And what is it like having, as you say, a child on the autism spectrum? How do you manage that part of things?
You know, it was very hard because it was my firstborn and I had no knowledge to autism, so it was very, very new to me. And what I done was I started to look up what autism was at the time because I didn't understand the diagnosis. And also, I usually sit down with my daughter and we speak about her diagnosis, and we write poetries about how she feels, what she sees, so it gives me an insight of how she views the world. I always tell her to be kind to herself, be patient, because at the end of the day, I can't imagine anybody being on an autism spectrum or anybody on that center at the same time, because it is very, very hard for them to understand certain things, which I've understood with my daughter. And me and my family worked very, very hard with her. And she is obviously at the level where, you know, a lot of people say she wouldn't be able to do certain things, but I'm always a person that say there's never a never, as long as you try and do the best to your ability. But I just think having a lot more knowledge to the diagnosis is what helped, because then I just used skills like visual learning for her to understand things and sit down and do a lot more writing to understand how she views the world, how she understands things, and just taking the time to sit down, debrief, talk a lot to then just get that insight. So yeah, like I said, it was definitely very hard, but we are at a level now where I'm knowledgeable to her diagnosis. I'm able to, you know, work around and do things with her to make her understand. But but my journey itself, motherhood, entrepreneur, it is a journey that I would say I would never have thought now I would be here. If I was to go back 2, 3 years ago, I would never have thought I was here today. So I would be thankful for COVID, because COVID was my inspiration to start my entrepreneur journey. And I'll be thankful that I did lose my job or I wouldn't have been here. So I'm very grateful for how my journey turned out.
Absolutely. Tell us a bit about the beauty business that you are building your business around.
So I currently make my own strip lashes. So as you can see, I'm wearing my own, and I also make my own lip glosses as well. Really nice, colorful, glittery lip glosses, and I'm also a teeth whitener and a brow lamination specialist. So these were skills that I've learned, like I said previously, throughout of lockdown, and I've got my own little place now where I now take bookings for my appointments, which was a big step for me because at first I was doing mobile, And it was just hard doing mobile, carrying equipment around was just so tiring. So I'm at the stage where I was grateful that I've progressed now to having my own little studio where I can have my own little place to start my beauty business, which is teeth whitening and also brow lamination, and away from that at home, making my own strip lashes and beauty products.
Wonderful, wonderful. Let's talk about about women empowerment. You advocate for women, affected women in
Yeah.
whatever areas that in. So, how do you see women empowerment from your perspective? Has it changed? Is it changing? How would you like to see women empowerment from your eyes?
I would say when it comes to, you see, with times now has changed, especially being a mum now of two. I've seen it differently to when I didn't have kids, and a lot of us mums, especially because I've got a lot of mums friends, a lot of us mums are always neglecting ourselves. And I know obviously everyone says motherhood as well, but away from that, how I see it is us mothers, us women in general, need to start prioritizing ourselves because we're such nurturing, caring individuals. And it's more about self-care, just remembering your well-being, your mental health. These things are okay. Being able to have emotions and being able to be okay with having emotions and feeling a certain type of way, because at the end of the day, I know obviously, we all live a busy lifestyle and we're all busy, but it's more about now, obviously, motherhood has showed me that us women, we need to start prioritizing. I think it's more about mental well-being and mental health, because I have a lot of mum friends that is going through motherhood very hard, and it's all about like self-care, mental health, well-being, neglecting their self. And for me, I just want to make them see the beauty side of things where, these things we should take time out for ourselves to actually put our well-being first. And it's okay to do that. I don't think that it's, whether you're a mum and whether you've got time, I don't think it's an excuse not to be able to do that. And I always tell my mum friends that you definitely need to take time out for yourself, just unwind, just relax, put your well-being first. And that's where I stand with women empowerment at this current moment. It's just making women understand that self-care is a must, taking time out self is a must, prioritizing your well-being, your mental health is a must, and also working on yourself. Because if I didn't work on myself, I would never have been able to get to here on my entrepreneur journey. If I was to just sit there and be okay with how things were, then I would never have been at this stage. Sometimes you have to take that step. And I know it's very hard. And I do understand, obviously, motherhood is a big thing for us women. And away from that, obviously, working. But you have to take that time to work on yourself to actually know what you want from this life to be happy. Because a lot of people can sit here and dream and say, oh, I want this, I want that. But what steps are you going to take to get to there? And it is, taking a risk is very, very scary, definitely scary. And that's the same for me. I took a massive risk, and it was, I didn't know if it was going to pay off or not. But also patience at the same time, but also working on yourself, and also just having that self-care there in place. You just have to have that confidence to be able to push through. So for me, when it comes to women empowerment, it's just to show us women that just to take that time out for yourself to actually sit down and know exactly what you want to do. And then from there, you be able to progress in little steps to then obviously get into where you want to get to in life. And that was just the point that I always like to make when it comes to women empowerment.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what about mentoring? Any mentors? How do you find your mentors? Do you have a mentor? And the role of community here, because women, when they think, okay, they
Yeah.
are working so hard, sometimes you
Yes.
forget building that community. How important is that community?
I always say, first of all, mindset. Mindset is a massive factor. One thing that I had to work on, especially when mentoring others, is your mindset, is how you think. Because at the end of the day, if you cannot change your mindset, that's always going to be a problem on a daily life. That mindset change has to change. You have to, instead of saying can't, like I said with my autistic daughter, instead of saying can't, you say I can, I will, I do. I don't believe in saying you can't do something. You can always do something. You can't do it in the time frame that other people can, but you will be able to get to doing to what you want to do. And I've always said working on your mindset is the biggest factor. And it does take a lot of work because, as days go by, depending on how your day has been, depending on what's happened in that day, it can always shift your mindset. But mindset work was a massive, massive factor in my journey. And once I learned how to change my mindset and my attitude approach to my entrepreneurial journey, that's how I managed to progress to the next stage of where I am now.
Absolutely, absolutely. There is so much to learn from you about all these things. Tell us a bit about your books. You have written 2 books, so why not
Yeah.
get more books? Are there more books in the pipeline?
So I am currently working on another poetry book with my daughter. So we are currently working on a poetry book of seeing the views through a child that is autistic. So this is a work that is coming from my 9-year-old, how she views the world. So we are currently now sitting down and writing how she views being outside, writing how she views doing an activity. So it just gives an insight to the community of other children or other women or men that is going through, that has the same diagnosis as her, to relate. As for my self-love book, like I said previously, as I was a self-love coach, that book is basically based on the skills of being able, like I said, to work with mindset and self-care, self-prioritizing. And it's just a book where it gives that inspiration the inspiration that a lot of people need, because sometimes when you read a book, you tend to be able to relate, because reading a book, you'll be like, oh, okay, this is me. And you start to understand. And my books are more about empowering, inspiring, and relatable. So whether you can speak about it among people or you don't have anyone to speak about it among people, it's about being able to know that there is other people that is out there that is in the same position, that does think exactly how you think, that does understand and does relate to you. And that's why with my poetry book previously, Uplift and Empower, obviously being a Black woman in society, I've had to face my challenges, and my poetry book is about my challenges that I've had to face throughout my journey. And there is going to be a lot of other Black women that's out there that will understand and be able to relate, maybe not be able to speak among others, but that book is there to empower and just to show them that it's okay, and it's okay to be able to inspire one more time. But yeah.
Absolutely. There is so much to learn from you about all these things, about entrepreneurship, about building, about balancing family as well
Yeah.
as entrepreneurship, and so much more about advocacy and so much more. So for those people who would want to learn more about you, more from you, about your business, be a part of what you are doing, what's the best way for them to connect with you, Abeneeka?
The best way would be on all social platforms, which they can, on Instagram, on TikTok, through email as well. I do answer to email. I always love to hear other women or men entrepreneur journey, because like I've said, I've been there, and not much people tend to speak about the behind the scenes of becoming an entrepreneur. And I'm just as real as it gets. I like others to know that it's okay. It is hard, but all social platforms, you can get through to me at her Entrepreneurial Journey, and definitely would love to hear from other aspiring entrepreneurs and their journey.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.